Hey, Blender Bob here. I would like to share with you a project I've been working on recently for a client. It's an orthopedic bed made by Orthex, a company in Canada. They make orthopedic stuff like bed and pillows and things like this. And we wanted to show what this bed can do. Okay, so here we go. The next two videos don't have music, they are instruction videos on how to assemble everything. So in this case, it's for the rails here. So I had to make some part transparent so we can see what's happening inside, actually under the bed. So you have these screws that you need to insert here, and then you can bring the rails. Let's see from the other side what it looks like. And then you have to insert two screws. And then a general view to show you what it looks like when it lifts. But here you have to see that this little red handle here, you need to pull it to lock it in place. So we just go there, you pull it, move it, push it back, and that's it. So having a video is much easier to explain than having a piece of paper that says insert this screw number 2 in this place and blah, 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 blah. So that's why we did it like this. The other clip here, this one is to install the headboard and the footboard. Little assembly required here, so first is to attach the metal brackets with the long screws, and the tools are included in the box. And after this we continue to the bed to do the exact same thing here. So first we need to do these little attachments, then the little screws, and then these attachments and the big screws. Finally, all you have to do is to slide down the headboard and footboard. There's also a fourth clip that explains how to change the controller box under the bed, but let's move on to how I did the entire thing. Since I couldn't get access to the CAD data, the only way I could model this is to actually get the physical product here at my home. When I got it out of the box, it looked very overwhelming, so many parts, how am I ever going to be able to finish this in time? But if we take a closer look, we realize that, you know what, if I take the wheel here, well, the wheel on the other side is going to be the same thing. The center part here is the same thing as on the other side. And this part here was just a simple part. And these, so you realize that all these parts on this side here are copied mirror on the other side. Only the center part is not mirrored. And then if we take a look at the other set of legs, it's the exact same thing, but with a rotation of 180 degrees in Z. Yeah, Z, Z, same thing. I'm Canadian, we say Z. Alright, so let's take a look at the base. The base is the same thing. A lot of parts, but turns out there's a lot of repetition. This one here is repeated 6 times. A lot of screws are repeated. This part here is repeated 4 times, so it's all mirror modifier. Screws, same screws everywhere, so that's pretty good. We're going to talk more about the screws a little bit later in this clip. Alright, so what else we got? This part here is special. It's only on one side of the bed. We have 2 more mechanisms. So we have this one here. So that's for one side of the bed. And this one here. This one I think is for the legs. A few parts here and there that are repeated many times. For the rails on the side, there's a bunch of screws on them. They're all the same one. So that's very easy. And of course, you just need to mirror it to do the other side. For these boards, well, nothing complicated here. No big deal. And the mattress. And I took a lot of pictures, a lot of close-ups. I wanted to make sure that I would get everything perfect, because at this point I didn't know what the client wanted. So maybe he wanted close-up on a specific part of the bed. I don't know. So I needed to make everything top-notch. Everything had to be perfect. The only thing the client asked me not to model are the cables under it because it would create kind of a mess, and for the aesthetic it doesn't look that good. But pictures are not enough. They cannot be used for modeling because of all the lens distortion that you get. So I had to measure every single part one by one, and for that I used my modeling best friend, my digital caliper. This is what it looks like in the Viewport shaded in cycles. Cycles is crazy fast. It's amazing. It's mind-blowing. Okay, I got an insane graphics card, but still, it's so fast. Alright, let's take a look at some parts. This one here, for example, well, if we look at the wireframe, you will see that, yes, there are end guns everywhere. But it's okay, it doesn't matter because this part will never distort, it will never be broken in parts, so end guns are just fine if that's the case. Don't go crazy with the all quads thing. If you're doing characters, yes, sure, you need all quads. But if you're doing technical stuff like this, never gonna blow up, never gonna break apart, then it's all fine. You can see that I went crazy here. I beveled everything, even the screws are beveled. Weldings are super easy to do. I put a link in the description, you can check it out. I made a clip about it. If we take a look in wireframe mode, you can see that the geometry is not that complex actually. It looks very complicated, but it's not. It's quite simple. It's just that there's a lot of them. I even added the little details here, even if I knew that we would never see them. And yes, it has USB ports, even USB-C. Okay, let's talk about rigging for a minute. So this thing is a little bit complex for me because I'm not a rigger, and the bed can move in a lot of different ways and up and down, and the legs spread, and there are rails inside everywhere. And I couldn't do this. So I went on Twitter, yes, I still call it Twitter, and I asked for some advice. And I got a lot of advice from people because people are very nice. You know, people help each other in the Blender community. But, you know, people telling you should try this and you should do this and you should do that. It's not easy, especially knowing that I'm not a rigger. But one guy set up some bones and said, hey, is this what you want? And he had a proof of concept showing me that he could do the job. So we contacted each other, we made a deal, and I paid the guy, and I ended up with this absolutely magnificent rig. So, moral of the story, show, don't tell. So I can move the bed up and down, I can lift the back, I can lift the legs, and all this stuff under, there's a lot of mechanism that needs to adapt. So some wheels on rails, and it's different from the front and the back. So everything has to be rigged properly. It wasn't that simple. There's another manipulator here to bring the bed up and down on each side also. We can lift the rails. For the rails, I needed to be very, very accurate because there are two pivot points here. There's one here and there's another one here. So I wanted to make sure that when I move the rails, everything will fit perfectly everywhere. Now let me show you a way to rig this without using any bones. So this is the part that's going to drive everything else here. The rotation in Y on this object will drive everything else. So I will select these four objects here and I will parent them to this one. So parent, keep transformation. So now if I move this one, well, it doesn't move with it. Why? It's probably because I got the parent only, whoops, not here, parent here, and turn this off. Okay, so now see everything comes with it, but they don't rotate. So what I'm going to do here is to take the rotation in Y here, and I'm going to copy it as a driver, copy as new driver, and I'm going to select this part here and paste it in rotation Y. You can see that the origin is at the right place, and paste it as a new driver. So let's see what it does if I just do that. If I rotate, you can see they both rotate the same thing, but it rotates the wrong way. It's supposed to go down. So what I'm going to do is to edit the driver here. Go edit driver. I'm going to change it to a script expression, and I'm just going to multiply it by -1 to get the inverse result. So multiply by -1. So now if I turn the original part, you will see that the second one will rotate properly. Okay, 1 down, 3 to go. So we already have a driver here, so I can just copy the driver, select this part here and paste the driver. I will do the same thing for this part here, paste driver. Okay, let's check out what it does right now. So yeah, that works. Okay, so we only have one part left to fix. Before I continue with the drivers, I want to make sure that the lower part here is parented to the one on top. So this one here, and make sure that the origin is at the right place. Okay, so let's just paste the driver that we had before, see what it does. So if I take this one here and I rotate, it works, but then it doesn't because the rotation is in the wrong order because it's multiplied by -1. So here we're going to edit the driver and remove what we did here because we want the same rotation as the first object. So if I try again, here we go, this rail has been rigged. Okay, what else we got here? We got a little adjustment here for the mattress when we use a dorsal adjustment. There's another one here for the mattress. So the big blue box here, this one, if I move it up, it's going to move the entire mattress up. And we have the dorsal adjustment right there. I really wanted to make sure that we could look at any part of this bed in extreme close-up and it would work. Even the screws are very detailed and beveled. Speaking of screws, let me show you how I do mine. So this is a circle with 6 sides, and then I will divide each side by 2. So I select the edges here and I press Shift W to divide them, and I made this to 2. Now I can take the entire thing here and extrude it. So you see I have custom pie menus, but it's the same thing as normal extrude. So I just extrude it up. Now I select the polygons in the center, in the middle of the faces. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Move them up just a little bit. Now I will select the top edge and fill it. Just press F to fill the area. Do not use the fill option that you can get in the face, otherwise you will get all these triangles and we don't want that. Okay, so a little inset to make it smaller. Then I will move it up and I will flatten it so you just scale in Z at 0. Now I'm going to use Circleize from Loop Tool. It's an add-on that comes with Blender. If you don't have it, go in the extensions and install it. It's crucial. It's very, very important. It's really good. Here I put it in a pie menu, but later I will show you how to do it in the right click instead. So here I can rotate it just to adjust it, make sure everything is tight. That looks pretty good. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. Fill, extrude, and flatten. From there, I'll select the entire row of polygons here, and I'll just extrude it according to the normals. So again, I use a pie menu, but it's the same thing if you do extrude normal. I will select this edge loop here and just flatten it, so scale at 0 in Z. Now I'll select both edges here, and I will go in the loop tool and circle. So you see that's how you get it from the right click. It's twisted a little bit, so let's adjust it. I'll go in the top view and just rotate it just to align it properly. Do the same thing at the bottom because I'm sure it's not good. So select this ring here, and again I will adjust it. Make sure it's all tight. All right. The screw model that I have on the bed has a little ridge on top here, so I'm just going to do it. I'm going to select this face here and I'm going to inset it a little bit, and then I can select this ring here and just extrude it. So the ring here, select the entire thing, books, and extrude. Here we go. Okay, shade smooth, looks like crap, but we're gonna add some bevels. You can see that my modifier tab looks different than yours. That's because I use an add-on, actually an extension that comes with Blender. You just need to install it. It's called Modifier List, and I think it's pretty cool. I love it. And we go back to the old ways of adding modifiers, which I love. Okay, so bevels. We want 2 divisions, and then we're going to add a subdivision modifier because we want to go extreme close-up on our nut, because why not? Isn't it great to see the old list again? Subdivision modifier. Alright, looks okay, but the corners here, they don't look very good. So we're going to go back to our bevel modifier and we're going to make some changes. What we want to do is to change the outer for arc. So here in the pop-up, I want to change it to arc. And you will see it's going to change the way it does the bevel, and I get a much better corner. But I got some end guns there. You can leave them there if you want, but if you want to go crazy, then the only way you can fix this is to apply the modifier and cut the geometry. So you need to connect all these vertices here by pressing J, all the way around. A little fast forward here, and now if I turn back on the subdivision modifier, I get a perfect nut. Let's say we want to add a hole in the center, so I will take this face here and inset it. Now I don't know why before when I inset I would have this yellow circle that would allow me to adjust it. Now it doesn't work anymore. I don't know, so what's going on? So I'm just going to use scale and I'm just going to scale it. All right, I will extrude it down. Okay, I will turn off the subdivision modifier because it's annoying. And oh, I went a little bit too far, so I'm just going to snap to vertex and snap it all the way to the bottom of the nut. So poof. Okay, now I'll take this face here and I will do my loop tool circle. Like I did before, I will go on the top view and adjust it to make sure it's perfectly aligned. Well, close enough. And I will scale it to match the one that we just did before. All right. Now I can take all these points here and I can do a merge by distance and just play with it until, whoop, that's too much, just enough to make sure that everything is properly connected. Little bevel here on top, 2 divisions. And I will do the same thing at the bottom. I could have done both of them at the same time, but then I realized it didn't work. Well, That's because I'm an idiot. I forgot to delete this face here. So I'll just delete it. Okay, that's better. Now I can select the edge and do my little bevel. Way! Now I can turn back on the subdivision modifier and I am done. Blender also comes with a free extension that's called the Bold Factory here that you can easily install. Just click install, it's going to install it for you. So now if you go in the add menu, you will see a new bolt here and you have a lot of parameters that you can play with to adjust the bolt the way you want it. It's a bit on the heavy side and there are some polygons that are useless in there. And you know, I'm a modeler, I like to model stuff, so I prefer to do my own and make sure that it will match exactly what I need. And you can also make nuts. So let's see, I could start with this one and modify it to try to get what I'm supposed to get on my model, on my bed model. I will spare you all the changes that I did because it's pretty basic modeling stuff, but at the end I can tell you that it took about the same time as modeling the entire thing from scratch. But the one I made is cleaner and it's lighter. It also has bevel and subdivisions. This one cannot be subdivided. Let's go back to mine. If you want the thread, one thing you could do is to poke the top face and the bottom face. You don't really need to do this, but it's going to help when we're going to do the booleans. And what we want to make sure also is that we will apply the subdivision on our nut, because if we don't do this, it's not going to be able to subdivide properly after. So I will select my nut and I will just apply the subdivision modifier on it. So apply. And now I can do my boolean, so all I need to do is to subtract the screw from the other one. Auto smooth and you are done. These are actually the most difficult parts on this model, and as you can see, they're not that difficult. They could be optimized, they could be better. This one has a lot of booleans on it. You know, topology is not perfect, but it's okay. It's inside wheels and we don't see it. This one could probably be optimized, but it's okay. You know, it doesn't really matter. Let's take a look at this one, for example. It looks complicated, but it's actually not at all. So let me show you. We're going to redo it live. All right, so I got this plane here. I'm just going to select this polygon here. I'm going to extrude it. Select this one here, extrude it. Then delete the extra polygons that I don't want. So this one, whoops, this one here, and this one here. Whoa, not this one, and this one. Okay, so we got the basic shape. Now I'm going to select some edges and I'm going to bevel them. So this one here, this one, and this one. Of course, for the real thing, I had to calculate everything, the radius and the thickness and all this stuff. But now I'm just giving you a quick and dirty version. So that's how I get these big squares here. Now I will select this edge here and this edge here and bevel them. All right, that's good. Now what I want to do is to add some thickness on it. So I will select this and I will do a solidify modifier. So here, solidify modifier, and I will adjust the thickness. So change it a little bit. Now you want to make sure that when you do this, you turn on the even thickness here. I don't know why it's not on by default, because it doesn't give you good results if you don't have it on. So I always turn it on. So this is good. All right, so we got the basic shape here. Now we just need to round the corners and add some bevels. So I will apply the modifier because we don't really need it right now. So modifier applied. Now we'll select this edge here, little bevel. Here we go. Another one at the bottom here. So let's take this edge here, bevel, and another corner. This one's going to be bigger, so bevel and change the amount of subdivision on it. So okay, that looks good. And finally, this corner here. All right. So now what I want to do is to delete the polygons that are on the edge here. So I'm going to select these two, this one, and delete them. And I want to make sure that the origin is at the right place, which is right here. Now I'm going to duplicate the mesh. And because it's a kind of a mirror copy, I'm going to do a -1 in X and same thing in Y, because it's kind of flipped on this side. And now I just need to adjust it, make sure that they are perfectly aligned together. I can join them together. So I select the two geometry, I press J. And now let me go into wireframe so that I can select these vertices here and do a merge by distance. And you can set the bottom, it merged 6 vertices, so that means it's all good. So the only thing left to do is to add a bevel modifier. So add bevel here. And yeah, it looks pretty good. I will add 2 divisions on it. And I want to make sure that I turn on the hard normals, because if it's not turned on, see now it's on, but if I turned it off and I do the auto smooth here, now it looks good. But if I turn it off here, you will see that it's going to look kind of bumpy, it doesn't look good. So that's why you need to turn on hard normals when you do your bevels. And that's it. That's how you do this part. Okay, finally, let me show you how I can rig pistons, because there are pistons in this model. So I will start with an empty and I will duplicate it. So I get 2 empties, move it on the side. Okay, now I need 2 cylinders. I will just create very basic cylinders just for the purpose of demonstration. So cylinder, scale, rotate, place it at the right place. I will duplicate my cylinder and align it with the other empty. I'll scale it a little bit because that's the big part of the piston. Alright, now I need to parent them. So I need to parent the small one with the first empty. So I select it, select the other one, parent, and I do the same thing with the other one. So the big one here, select, select, parent. Here we go. So now this way, if I move the empty, the cylinder will come with it. I use empties because this way I can modify the geometry of the pistons anytime I want and it's not going to break the rig. Now I'm going to add a constraint to the empty. So the one I want is the track 2, so that is going to track something else, and this something else is going to be the other empty. So now you just need to select which one of the orientation you need to get what you want. This one here. Now we're going to do the same thing here. This one we're going to add a track 2 constraint. So I go there and I add a track 2. I'm going to select the other empty, and same thing, I need to select the right orientation. And that's it. So now if I move any of the empties, they're always going to be aligned to each other. So that's how you rig a piston. Alright, 21 minutes is long enough. Anyway, 95% of you guys will not even reach the end of that clip. So no point in making it longer. Alright, bye.